I grew up in a small town in Lincolnshire, famous for growing lots of veggies for England. I grew up in a non-Christian household, but I grew up with parents that had Christian values. So I went to Sunday school. I belonged to the Girl Guides, which had a lot of Christian messages in that. And also at school, we had assembly every morning, which was, I think back now, we had prayers, we had a reading, and we had almost a sermon at times. And we were encouraged to take part in the assemblies at times. And so I suppose I didn't think of myself as a Christian. I was in the church choir from the age of about 12 to 17, and there was a vicar there the whole time called Reverend Culver, and I don't think he would have known my name in all that time. So I never really understood the gospel. I just enjoyed the church, which was a Roman church, dates back to the 1800s. I just thought it was a beautiful church. And I was interested in God, but I didn't really understand the gospel. And then I went off nursing and forgot all about him. And it wasn't until really I was pregnant with my second child and I felt drawn to the church, and I went back to the local church. And it was through Sarah's baptism and a young curate that came to talk to us that I realised that I could have a relationship with God, and what a Christian really was.
I was born in Yorkshire in the UK. Earliest memories I have with Mum and Dad, I wouldn't consider them Christians now, but they were C of E back in those days, so they sent me along to church for Sunday school. I can remember one time I got there a bit late and the Sunday school was inside the main church building and the doors were closed, so I thought, I'll turn round and go back. I'll go back home. So I spent a little time, pretended I'd been to Sunday school, then went back home. And then a little bit later on, I think it was Easter one time, and they used to have like an Easter parade in the road. It came past on the road outside, and on the Easter weekend, Mum and Dad said, well, do you want to go to church or do you want to stay at home, and then we'll be going out afterwards? So I said, I'll stay at home. So that was the end of my days at Sunday school. And a little bit later I joined a youth club, which was I think it was tied with a Methodist church at the time, but I've no recollection of any talks of anything to do with Christianity, what it meant to be a Christian. And also at school we used to have religious education. Nothing clicked there, but interestingly, because Mum and Dad had always taught me to pray when I went to go to bed at night, I did pray, and I continued praying right up until my early 20s. When I was in the Royal Navy, we were at sea, and I picked up a book from the library on the ship, and it was called The Three Chimneys, and it was about the Holocaust and what happened to the Jews. And after reading that, I just turned away from anything to do with God, Christianity, or whatever, right up until the same time when Sarah was born and Merle went along to church and thinking about baptism. So the church that Merle went to was it was like a sub-branch of a local church from Penania. There was a guy there who was a curate, Gary Nicholson, and they did baptism interviews. So before you went ahead with the baptism, the minister or the curate and a couple of the people from the church would come around and have a chat with you. There was no obligation after the chat they left it up to you, so whether you went ahead with the baptism or not. And I'd been in Canberra the day that he came round, so I drove back from Canberra, had a quick tea. Gary came round and he sat and spoke to us both, and then I started asking him questions that I had about God, the sort of the history of the church, and why all the Jews had to die in the Second World War. And he was able to provide a lot of the answers. And I think he came for a few weeks, didn't he? And he and I had quite a few talks. And then one time he said, well, I'll leave you this to read when I go home. And he left me a little booklet of John's Gospel, and it was in the Good News version. So I sat and read that until about 1 o'clock in the morning. And I thought, after reading it, I thought, well, this must be true from what Gary said, so I better do something about it. And that's the life-changing moment.
Yes, it changed quite a lot, because up till then Peter was quite involved in racing go-karts, and so most weekends were taken up with that. And so he gave that up straight away. And then we we joined a Bible study, but also I had a young baby, obviously, and there were lots of women there with new babies. And so, you know, our friends now of over 38 years, who I met then, and they were strong Christians, and we joined their Bible study group, and they helped us along. I think they encouraged us, and we really enjoyed Bible study, and we just grew from there, I think. Yeah. And we took the children to church, obviously, and yeah. So it changed a lot.
Similar sort of thing, yeah, my life did change. Every Sunday going to church, which was a new experience for me. One of the things that was a little bit funny, because I'm not what you'd call a traditionalist, was they still wore the smock, or whatever you call it, in the Anglican church, yeah. And I thought, oh, this is a bit 17th century. Anyway, getting to know the ministers and the curates, they were really nice people who were there to help you in the understanding of what it meant to be a Christian. I'm trying to remember the course that I went through, whether it was
Christianity Explained, wasn't it?
Christianity Explained,
or
I think. 2 Ways to Live. So
There's
a lot of things in the early life that convinced me, but the thing that changed the most was the next day when I went to work, I didn't swear anymore. I was just able to stop just like that, because everybody did, even sort of my management team. It was just the way that things were. So that was a big thing that I noticed. And also the realization that we were sinful, and through what God has done for us through Jesus, that was the way to heaven and to eternal life.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We went away to weekend family camps, didn't we?
Yeah.
I went to boy camps with my son, which was really good.
He
made friends in the church, and he went to youth group in the church, and he made a commitment when he was about 17 or 18.
Yeah, it's nearly 18.
I was baptized. Were you baptized as well? I can't remember, in the Anglican church.
No, I'd already been baptized.
Right, you had. I mean, I may have been as a young boy, I can't remember that. So I was rebaptized in the church and made the commitment there. And it's interesting, we've been baptized twice since then as well, haven't we? Yeah. For different churches, we've gone to the Vassars. But it doesn't matter, because it's a sort of not a cleansing, but it reminds you that it's a new life, it's a washing away of the old.
Yeah, and confirmation of your beliefs, I think.
I got involved in the church life, sort of on parish councils at different times. What else? The maintenance of the church, and a really good group of guys to work with. So there's that male fellowship that's sort of completely different to the fellowship that you have when you're a non-Christian with non-Christian men. So that was good.
I've been quite ill. I was quite ill a year ago, and through that time I realised and I felt that I wanted to be a really strong witness for God, and I realised that I have a very, very strong faith, and and it was a privilege to experience that illness because I felt so close to God. And so I feel that one of my gifts is encouragement and hospitality, but during this time, of course, we haven't been able to deliver that. So I think prayer and my faith has been strengthened through it all.
And I think you've been able to encourage people who you've come across who've been sick as well through what you've gone through, haven't you?
Yeah, we've got a friend at the moment who's very sick and non-Christian. I'm not what you'd call an evangelist, but I try and say a few things.
A little bit like Merle, faith. I think it's because I've come from the opposite of faith, having no faith at all and no belief, to having a belief, and that remains strong. Even though at times you do question things, but you can go to the Bible or you can listen to the sermons on Sunday, which pull you back onto the short and straight and narrow. So that's good. As I say, I've been involved in sort of the parish councils and deacons, so the skills I learnt, I suppose, in the commercial world, I was able to use those and help in that. Giving, being generous with the giving, I think, is important too. Yeah. And also, I suppose you can't do as much these days as you get older and you've had medical problems and prostheses and things like that. So, but where you can help, it's good. It's good to help, and I've always been willing to do that at all the churches I've worked at. So, and where I can, to be encouraging, come alongside people, give them a phone call, things like that. So, yeah. And the thing that's driving you is the love for other Christians and the love for non-Christians, because even though we don't come heavy with our friends and people we come across, they know our beliefs, they know we're Christians, and they know we stick by that.
And they still want to be our friends.
Which is good.
The first time I came to Sandy Beach, we had been searching for a church up here and had been to a couple, and I felt dry. I felt dried up spiritually, and the first time I walked into Sandy Beach, I just felt like I'd been watered. I'd been given water. It's a truthful teaching, good teaching. It's like a family. I think we're a family. There's caring, people are loving, people are prayerful, non-judgmental, and I just think we're a great bunch.
It's a community church. It's small, so you maybe don't know everybody closely, but you get to know people. You get to become close friends with people through Bible study, and we've been a part of the Bible study for some time, even though since Merle's illness we've had to stay away from that and moving. The preaching and the teaching is excellent. It's good because it doesn't matter where it's coming from, whether it's the Old Testament, the New Testament. It's something you go, there's another light bulb moment. Or not so much a light bulb moment, something, I got to get back on track there. So it's encouraging. It's not theoretical, it's practical. There was something else I was thinking about. The music. I enjoy the music there and the singing. We don't have a very strong music team, but they're very dedicated, which is terrific. But it's the songs. Most of the songs, they always seem to tie in with the sermon. So the whole service is really encouraging. Yeah, I've missed the fellowship of church. And even after church, there's a social life, but it's a group of Christians. We go out for a coffee, and people can see in the cafe that we go to, we're not cussing and swearing around the table or whatever. We're a group of Christians, and we're just normal people, just have a belief in Jesus.